my channel, welcome. Right, back on this one again today. You may know it from a previous video. Was it a YouTube video? It might have been for the official patrons, I forgot now. Basically, I soldered in a wire across the center, bit square wire, so I can hold these two bezels apart in exactly the position I want. Then the idea is they're soldered in with really easy solder. The idea is I can now put the claws on at my leisure, and then when they're on, I can get it under heat and pull that out. That can be a bit nerve-wracking when you've got claws soldered in, you spend a lot of time on it, pulling things out under heat. If that's so, I've done this in the past before, just didn't feel like taking a risk. I simply cut it off and then just ground out carefully what was remaining in there. But it is fast and best if you can pull it out under heat. Anyway, I'll sort that out when I get to it. Yeah, that bar was, you can tell that bar was going right across the middle. Because I wanted to fit the stone in and check the stones in the bezel again, and then check the height it is, sitting above the bottom bezel, I had to cut it out, so that's why it's gone. Just cut it, ground it back, just to make space for the stone to drop down. Yeah, really pushing my luck. That stone is just inside. It's just not quite sticking out when I look through the side, so pushing my luck a little bit. It should have gone up a touch more. Anyway, it is working, it's all right. So yeah, looking straight down there, just making a few adjustments because I can, I've been talking about this the whole time I was making it, having problems with the stone because I don't want to be able to look down on the ring and see metal around the sides, which I can, even on the ends where it wasn't a problem as much. So now it's here, I literally just taken my file and just taking it back a little bit. Because I may not be able to avoid seeing the metal over the long sides of the stones, a trick you can do is just round off or taper it a little bit. It just helps when you're looking down at the light's not hitting a flat surface alongside the stone. If you can round it off a little bit, it helps hide the fact that there is metal there on view. So I'm just squaring these off a little bit and reducing the length overall. Anyway, just working around it, making adjustments before I move on. Next, I'm putting that on there. There's a slither of metal around the side. It's got to be like that. I can't find it anymore. It's getting too thin, and gonna have to rely on the trick of playing with illusions now, just rounding off the top. It works quite well, especially after things are polished. It really does work. It's hiding things, rounding off where the bezel hits at its highest point. Anyway, so I'm putting the stone back in position, and then I'm looking down on it. I want to make sure at least the corners of the stone are sticking over the top of that bezel, because when the claw's on, I want the claw to be cut out for the stone to go in position. If the stone's in position, the claw just happily sits there with the stone right down. That means the claw has to sort of be bent over without doing any cutting. This looks horrible. It's not correct. So I'm going for a big fat chunk. Going to allow me plenty of space for filing it up to shape when it's already a bit thick. So yeah, I'm going to try and get it to go straight up from that bezel and then taper it off under that to go to that under bezel, which is a completely different shape. That under bezel's square. Look. This is a rectangle. Wow, it's sort of a weird shape, trying to hide as a good rectangle because of the stone. Yeah, so I'm just going to taper it down and then join it on. I'll put a little flat on that under bezel and hopefully get them all going down looking neat. So I sharpened that up and just sort of holding it over the top. I think it's a good idea to put a little flat on my under bezel, a bit of an angle, and just for a decent bit of surface area for my claw to solder onto. So what I'm thinking of doing is just concentrating on that claw being straight up from the top bezel, and then I'm going to bend them to have however they need to sit and to join onto that bottom bezel corner. And then if it looks odd, like they're not matching nicely, I've got a bit of width there, I can sort of take off a bit of one side or the other. I'm going to have to sort of adjust it all, sort of get them all working together to make it look as good as possible. So to move on, I've had to find the best way to taper that claw down, and what I had before, what I guessed was too long. My measurement it's like 4.3 from the straight sides down to a point. So when I've got my wire now, I just do that. So I've got a little line on there, and then I'll just sharpen it to the center both sides, but then not going past this line going down. And I chose that because I wanted the parallel sides of the claw completely up the side of the bezel, but then from the bottom edge of that top bezel going down to the claw, it can just be tapering off. And then when it's on there, it might need, or before I put it on, when I'm like specifically holding one claw that's going to go in a specific position, I may taper it one side or the other a little bit differently. So this is how I'm proceeding. When you've got stones, yeah, that are like perfectly calibrated and just all the sides are straight or round or whatever, it makes diamond mounting so much easier. As when you've got wonky stones, it just causes so many problems. Like, that's why I wanted to make, that's why I bought this stone. I bought this from a trade fair. I went literally like this time last year. I liked it because it was just so badly cut. It's not bad colour, it's not a bad looking stone, but when you look closely, it's like, oh my god, it's just really problematic. So I thought it'd be good for making a lot of videos with a stone. Alright, as this thing is a delicate little bit of framework, and this is quite a strong chunky claw, it would be a mistake to solder that on just straight like that and then try and push that down. It will just mangle that out of shape. So I'm going to have to give these a bit of shape before they go on, and I'm going to do that by doing this. Oh my god, it's strong. Bend it a little bit. I very much doubt you'll find another jewellery making channel on YouTube showing you this kind of stuff. This is quite deep knowledge, very nichey. I'm not going to have like a clickbaity thumbnail. This is yeah, like deep knowledge for jewelers. Problems you're going to encounter when you're doing real diamond mounting. So this is what I'm trying to explain earlier about. I want to get all four claws. Is what I've decided to do. I want all four claws perfectly vertical from that top bezel being horizontal, but then going down, they all seem to hit that corner of the bottom bezel a bit differently. See, that is just off the corner, and then when I put it on the other side, it's like even more off. So adjustments I can make to try and compete with that is actually, there's a little bit of adjustability with where my claw goes. Like, remember, I want it straight off that top one, so it can go slightly to the right or slightly to the left, and then also as well as going left and right, from underneath that top bezel, I can literally like physically bend it one way or the other and then reshape the tapering to make it match. Or I can just leave it straight and then just taper it slightly more one side than the other. They all kind of differ a little bit where they're hitting the corner of that square bottom bezel, so I'm going to have to pull a few tricks to make them look nice. Do them as good as I can, get them on there looking as straight as possible. They shouldn't look too bad as long as they're all coming up the same angle off the top bezel. What goes on underneath is, I reckon I can do a good job of hiding it, the differences between them. But yeah, there is a little bit, when you get to these sort of challenges when you're making a mount, there's a little bit of adjustability. Like, I'm talking tiny amounts left or right differ, and yeah, obviously the way they're tapered, one side more than the other, or you can physically bend them and then just straighten out the curve and stuff. So anyway, it comes down to just doing a good job as a jeweler to hide inconsistencies with dimensions of stones and stuff. Again, this is real diamond mounting. These are the kind of problems you have when you're actually really making stuff. Got these ready to go. What I do is when I'm making multiples of things, like see there's a little black mark there, that was my master that I kept checking on the ring, and I like the look of it, I like that curve, and the length and stuff works. So that's my master. I copied that, but I put a little mark on it to make sure they don't get mixed up. So that one's there, and then I bend one, put it next to that one, make sure that one's the same, and then I always work to that one. If I make the next one to that one and then the next one to that one, then they change a little bit and you end up with, like, however you're making, they're all a little bit different. So now I've got these claws made up, ready to fit. I'm thinking, I've changed my mind a little bit. I was talking about having soldering it on the top one, making sure that's nice and straight, and then adjusting the bottom half to however I need to. Now I'm thinking, because that goes to a point and then it's soldered onto such a small sharp corner there, I'm thinking it's probably a good idea to just attach that bottom corner on the same, and then when it's soldered on, it's such a small amount of solder, such a small little surface area, I'll be able to easily tweak these claws left or right, sort of swing them, pivot from that bottom bezel, and then get them, I'm going to have them all lined up, like literally adjusting them all simultaneously, get all four soldered on just on that point. Then I can adjust them all simultaneously to where I think they're best suited, then solder them onto the top, and then we can shape them up a little bit. I think that's a more sensible way to work with this ring. Not necessarily the correct way in every situation, but for me I think that's the most sensible way to proceed, considering that's delicate and don't really know exactly how I'm gonna need to adjust each one to make them look the same. So anyway, I've decided to do that, soldering it on just the bottom bezel first from the point. Okay, so just show you my little setup. Bench peg slots, useful as always. Tweezers are in there, push it down, they're holding the claw in position, and it's just sort of clamping it closed like that. So I'm a old school real jeweler, call myself that just to wind people up, because modern day jewelers will have laser welders and they just tack things in position, and then they go to the bench and then solder things like more securely, because laser welds, not really good joins. You've got to, at the end of the day, you've still got to solder things properly. But anyway, I don't have laser welders, don't have access to them, so I'm not going to say I'm stuck in the old-fashioned ways. I do prefer this. I feel like there's more real, authentic way to complete a piece of jewellery just by having skill and ability to set things up and then solder them the old-fashioned way. Anyway, so that's in position. I'm going to tack a little bit of solder on that pointy bit. This is more nerve-wracking in silver than it would be in gold or platinum. Oh. I think I got it already. That was medium solder. Okay, no problem. Okay, cool, so that's done. Let's do that 3 more times. Oop. Throw it down there. So I just took this out of the acid. It looks better than I thought it was going to, but you can see one side doesn't match the other. But like, say for instance, that looks overly heavy there. I've got thickness on this claw to take more metal off that one than that one. If there's like inconsistencies with the sides of them going down, like I could tweak that one slightly that way or file that side. Yeah, I'm preferring the position of this one. I'm going to adjust this one to match that one. So straight away, actually looks better than I thought I could do it. What happened was, you saw that, I think it was the first one I soldered on. I showed you that on video. That one was, you see that point is slightly off that under bezel there, that corner, I just allowed that. These two, I had to physically bend them that way a little bit. See that? They had to bend that way. Just this side was really different. So lining them up by hand, I thought, oh god, they're really don't match at all, but actually it was very minor work to get them on there, and it's all right. It's coming together. So now I need to do a clever bit of filing, like these two that I bent. You see that one? That side looks more rounded than that side. That side looks straight. That one looks that way. It's because I literally physically just yanked it that way. So perhaps the bottom bit, file that down, and then get rid of that curve halfway up that one. Should straighten that one out. I've just got to do the opposite on that one, take that bottom quarter off that way, and then take that curve off halfway up, should straighten that out, and then obviously get all 4 of these sticking up straight, which means they might banana a little bit there, but then I've got thickness, I can just file that flat again that side. Anyway, a lot of little fiddly little straightening things up, but basically they went on there better than actually I was expecting. I was expecting a bit of difficulty, but they weren't as problematic as I thought it was going to be. So I'm quite pleased with that. So now those 4 claws are on, I soldered all around top bezel as well. I can get rid of these now. I may as well just take these out, and then it gives me more space to work around it as well.